Live from the J.C. Newman Cigar Studios in the great state of New Hampshire and the Gurkha Cigar Studios in fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada. Welcome to the Smokin Tabacco Show with your hosts, Matt Tobacco and Kevin Acuff.
And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the Smokin Tabacco Show. My name is Matt Tobacco from SmokinTobacco.com. I am flying solo tonight, at least on the staff side. Kevin is from fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada, but in fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada currently, right now, is, I actually think it ended 12 minutes ago, day one of TPE, which we will talk about in a little bit. So I am holding down the fort, but I'm not going to be alone tonight. That's right. I have a guest with us tonight. This is someone I've been looking forward to having on the show for quite a long time, and to do a show with this company. It's also extra special because this person comes from the company that made our 2023 Cigar of the Year. From Davidoff, it's none other than Eddy Guerra. Eddy, welcome to the Smokin Tabacco Show.
Thanks for having me, man. It's a pleasure to be on. About time, I want to say.
Yeah.
Let's do this.
Yeah.
Did I come after Jack Hayer? Did I?
You haven't been on
he
here.
On the show?
He was on here. He was on here.
I am coming on. What the?
Yeah, I know. He beat you
this
to
out.
it. So the first
Jesus.
Davidoff show we did was a few years ago with Klaas Kellner before he left. And that was a little bit more, tobacco and factory focused, which was a
Makes
great
sense.
show. And I mean, as you know, he's a wealth of knowledge. But, it's a very different show with someone like yourself. We could talk about so many different things outside of that. That it's something I've been wanting to do for a while. So I'm really happy to have you on here. But yes, Jack did technically beat you. I don't know how he did it, but he did.
He's a slippery one, that guy.
Yeah, and oh look, he's here. Oh, Captain, my Captain.
Yeah.
So Jack's
boy.
watching, which is nice. But yeah, no, and Jack was cool. He talked about his graphic novel that he wants to publish about Coop downloading himself into a computer, and it's the year like 3025 or something like that. And I don't know. I don't remember the whole storyline, but I know he'll probably add it to the comments. So, but yeah, it was a good time.
It's not worth remembering whatever he says, anyways. It's all good.
Wow, shots fired, Jack.
No, it's a joke. It's a joke. We had lunch today. He's my buddy.
Did you guys haze him the way that the folks at Drew Estate hazed him? Do you know that story? Well,
I don't know how bad he got hazed, but I will tell you, we got him pretty gnarly. I definitely got him. I don't even know if we're going to. As he just commented, worse. Yeah, I mean, we'll probably say that for off screen, but he was sick for a little bit.
It's Jack. I can only imagine. Yeah, he said, Matt, I did say some professional things as well. He did. No, he was good. Yeah. He held his own, but he made it fun too. But yeah, it's Jack. I can only imagine what you guys did to him. He strikes me as someone who's an easy target. And I say that with so much love, Jack. I love you so much, but he just seems like he's easy to get in the office.
I mean, you're talking about a guy that tattooed a scorpion logo of Camacho as a tramp stamp on his back because somebody thought it was a good idea in the middle of Honduras. Yeah, he's easy. But anyways.
But you're here tonight, which is what's special. It's great. No, it is. It's great to have you on the show. I remember you reached out to me like a year ago. I think it was a year ago.
Yeah.
And before that, I didn't really have a lot of discussions and dialogue, with Davidoff. And I remember you reached out to me. We had a great conversation, and we've been, keeping in touch more and more ever since. And which has been great because, Davidoff's a big company, and it's a global brand, and there's not many brands that cover the global, marketplace like Davidoff does.
Right.
So I mean, it's important to cover you guys, and there's a lot to talk about, and there's a lot that could be said. A brand that's been around for how many years now? There's a reason why it's considered one of the the big four of the companies, right? So
Right.
there's so much here for us to discuss, and I'm almost overwhelmed thinking about it, but I know that as we get into it, it'll just flow naturally, and we're gonna have a great time. So,
Yep.
without further ado, let's do a couple of things we got to do first, and then we'll kind of slide right into it, right? So let's talk about what we're smoking tonight. Obviously, once again, brought to you by the number 2guyscigars.com. That's right, the number 2guyscigars.com. Head over there now to find an amazing selection of cigars and cigar accessories from the cigar industry, as well as being a Davidoff appointed merchant. They carry, I want to say, almost every SKU from Davidoff, Camacho, and Avo, only at the number 2guyscigars.com. Eddie, you're the guest, so I'll let you go first. What are you smoking tonight?
This is gonna sound really braggadocious. I'm smoking a future Avo release.
Oh, no, that's cool.
Shit.
It's all good.
I really didn't think that one through beforehand.
No,
But
that's okay.
yeah, I thoroughly enjoy everything that we make, and we're in the process of innovation, and through that process, there's a lot of enjoyment of these products, and I try to do it in many different scenarios, just to make sure it always hits right. And yeah, tonight would be one of those nights.
I mean, I think it speaks a lot to, and I'm sure you're not the only one doing that, but it speaks a lot to the reputation that the company has for their quality control. I mean, like I said before, Class Kellner was on, 2 years ago, I think now. We talked a lot about that, especially, down at the Dominican level, like in the factory and the farm, the quality control that goes on, which I would say is one of a handful of things that are the major contributors to that reputation that Davidoff has. But yeah, I mean, to hear that, even the guys in the office, they're smoking stuff all the time, different elements, Yep. I know everybody, look, and I know all the brands, they're smoking a lot of test stuff, they all do a great job. But, I guess it's just refreshing to hear, like, even the guys who aren't directly involved, or, the guys who are always down at the Dominican, or, just everybody, or almost everyone's getting involved. Correct. Yeah. And it's nice. It's at the level of commitment, I guess, personally to the company. And you guys do a great job at that.
It's not really common knowledge, right? I feel like I've been in this business long enough and have a lot of colleagues and worked with a lot of people, but I will tell you this. We work on a 3-year innovation schedule plan.
Okay.
So the stuff that, when I go into development with the team and we're doing project concepts and all this kind of stuff, like, they're 3 years down the line. You'll see a lot of stuff, for the most part, in the industry. The furthest will be a year down the line. There's people developing products that they're going to release in 6 months, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just we got a lot of things we got to do. We don't just service the United States. Europe is just as big as the United States for us. Asia is just as big as the United States for us. There's a lot of things that go into taking consideration, shipping over there and legalizing, like legal importation. It's just a lot of hoops that we jump through, and with that, we have a lot of time to make sure that the blends are precisely what we want, and they get a considerable amount of real age behind it. So yeah, it's a really cool thing. So you'll constantly catch us enjoying these products, and with years to come, and that gives you enough time to kind of figure out, like, hey, how's the cigar age? Is it, is it still smoking good? And you can kind of work on all that.
That's true too. The aging part of it.
Yeah.
You can have cigars rolled, let them sit for 60 days, 90 days, whatever. Send them up to the office.
Yeah.
Hey guys, what do you think of these? It's like, yeah, they're good, but what are they going to taste like in a year from now? You know.
Well, we'll find out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But to kind of to pause on what's probably about to be a great conversation. I am smoking one of my favorite Davidoffs, perhaps my number one favorite Davidoff, and that's the Anniversario number 3, which I would say that's like the Toro size, on a, on a
Yep.
informal way of calling it.
Yeah.
This was like the first Davidoff I ever smoked, and it's been my favorite ever since. This is among so many others, Grand Cru, Millennium, all of them. But the Anniversario number 3 for me specifically has been my go-to when I want a Davidoff and I want it to be just everything that it needs to be. It's this cigar. Eddie, with you being here tonight, I grabbed it because it was kind of a no-brainer. I said I'm going to smoke the Annie 3. I would have smoked the number 1, which is Cigar of the Year at Smokin Tabacco for 2023, which we'll definitely get into in a minute. But that's also got some length on it, and I don't know if I want to commit to 3 hours smoking that cigar. So as great as it is, I went with the number 3 instead. So, but in addition to that, as always here at Smokin Tabacco, we're always cutting and lighting our cigars with none other than ST Dupont products. That's right. Be exceptional. With me in the studio this week, once again, I have the new Biggie Flat Flame Lighter from ST Dupont. These just came out. They just shipped. Fantastic. Kevin and I talked about these last week. The Flat Flame is as close to a soft flame, I think, that you can get in a torch. It's been one of my favorite lighters so far this year. The flat flames in general from Dupont and a few others that make them. The flat flame is kind of a different style, but it's something that I love. It's nothing but quality here to ST Dupont. Don't forget to check them out today. Be exceptional. And I think you can also find them at the number2guyscigars.com. I think they stopped carrying them, and I think now they carry them again. So definitely head over there and check them out. You can buy them there. All right, Eddie. It's definitely it's time for you. It's you and only you for a while now. Let's talk about the big one first, since I already threw it out there, and it's exciting and it's celebratory. Every year, everyone in the media, they have their own list or whatever. We do ours. Put a lot into it. There's cigars on that list that the team smokes, and things get discussed. And it's this year, the number 1 and 2 cigar were tight. Were tight. They were neck and neck. They were tough. They were very well loved across the board. But luckily for you, the Anniversario number 1 limited edition, it pulled out into the number 1 spot. So congratulations, first and foremost. To Davidoff and everyone over there is quite the achievement, I guess. I know it's not CA, but it's still Cigar of the Year. So
Authentic.
So no, it's a blend that people already know. It's a cigar that's technically a re-release. It's not like it's brand new, but it still fell within all the parameters to make it eligible for the list. And I smoked it, Kevin smoked it, Nicole smoked it, and it was just. I think the only one that didn't smoke it was Mitchell, but Mitchell lives in Canada, so we can't always get him everything all the time. That's kind of my one little exception with him being up there. I can't get him everything all the time, so it's hard. But the rest of us smoked it, and I remember Kevin smoking it. Kevin bought a box, and he smoked it, and he called me, and he was like, "Have you smoked this yet?" And I said, "No, I have them." And he's like, "You need to smoke that cigar." And I smoked that cigar, and I called him, and I said, "Yeah, this one's a serious contender." I mean, look, it blew us away right off the bat. It's everything that you'd want it to be. It really lives up to the Davidoff name, the quality, the blend, the complexity, just everything about it. Actually, today, Kevin's review dropped on that cigar. And as much normally I don't spoil the reviews for people, but since it got Cigar of the Year, it's probably not going to be a shock. But that cigar scored a 94, which I think is the highest score that Smokin Tabacco has given out to date.
Amazing.
I don't think we've given anything higher than a 91. So you can read that at smokingtobacco.com, and you can read all about Kevin's
Amazing.
full breakdown on that cigar.
Great job, Kevin. Yeah,
Mhm.
you know, it's such that cigar winning is it's such a cool thing, man. You know, as a listen, like we were talking earlier, I'm like a cigar junkie nerd, right?
Yep.
Like I just love everything tobacco. It's how I'm in the business, and if you know about tobacco, like that cigar was such a icon in the movement of tobacco back when it was originally released. And I don't know how familiar you are with the story on how it was released or why it was released, but you know, Zeno Davidoff was just an innovative genius. Even though everything he did was pure finesse, like he was also incredibly innovative. And he wanted a cigar that he would enjoy on his birthday, that he could light up and smoke an hour before midnight and then go past midnight and continue smoking it for another hour on his actual birthday. And it was just like this magical thing of like leaving the past and entering the future with this. You know, at the time it was pretty groundbreaking. It was in a wooden tube. It's incredibly long. It was just something that didn't exist. And we did this really cool with the Davidoff Difference campaign this past year that we've been planning for a while. We wanted to do cigars that we called History Rerolled. And Davidoff was incredibly famous for certain Vitolas back then. Signature number 1, Millennium Lancero. And I would like to say Anniversario number 1 was historically probably the most famous cigar on the planet at that time. And it was like the ultimate connoisseur's collector's dream. So working on that project was incredible. It's almost like nerve-wracking because you get to work with such an important piece of tobacco history. And, you know, the teamwork on it, like, it was just kind of emotional in some weird way, like, at least for me. And then to see it so well received, I mean, we knew it was going to be great, but palates evolve, industry trends evolve, but you can't, if you're doing history re-rolled, you can't evolve that. It's got to be like an homage to what it was originally. So to see it get all these accolades and win number 1, and it was really cool, man. You know, we're really happy and really pleased, and Switzerland was incredibly happy and pleased, and yeah, man, it's just neat.
Yeah,
It's neat to do that.
I know that it was on other lists as well. I believe Half Wheel had it at number 2, actually. And it's funny, I was talking to Charlie Minato yesterday, I think. And last year, he Half Wheel and Smokin Tabacco had the same cigar of the year. And I remember ours came out, and then they did their list. And I remember watching their list. And I knew that it was like, I think it was like the second highest rated cigar that they had last year. And so I said, oh, that cigar is going to be number 1 for sure. I guess they're going through the list. And I didn't see it. And I'm like, yeah. I think we did it again. And then he got to number 2. And I was like, oh, so close.
Yeah, no, but, you know, you can't please everybody. But, like, dude, super stoked to make it to number 2. Also, I mean, it's
No, that's
great.
a big deal. No, that's a big deal, too. I mean, number 2 is number 2.
It was. And we did a I personally flew to Dallas, and I did a pre-release launch dinner that we normally do every year with Half Wheel with certain products. And, like, they didn't really know, and I showed, like, when it was time for the cigar portion of the dinner, I basically brought out the Anniversary number 1. I was like, by the way, this comes out next week. So everyone here has an opportunity to try this before it hits the market. And it was one of those, like, oh, shit moments. You know, like, that is huge. This is going to be special. And I told him, I was like, don't enjoy this tonight because you're probably going to end up reviewing it because I know you just... It's 3 hours, so just take it back to the office and see what you guys think. And he's actually really cool about going out and purchasing and doing things on his own, regardless. So, cool. But, yeah, it was great. It ended up on a couple sites. It was awesome. It was awesome overall, I think.
Yeah, no, I mean, job well done. Like I said, I mean, it's a historic release, like you said. The blend is still a blend that, in other sizes, obviously, is available everywhere, that everybody knows and loves. So it was kind of an easy sell, but it definitely earned the spot. That's for sure. We have a question here. Would Davidoff ever
So,
make other lines in the same Anniversario one size, maybe the late hour? Now, I know recently you guys actually expanded on the late hour, didn't you? Isn't there a new size available in the late hour?
it is. It's the petite panatella, completely the opposite.
Yeah, yeah.
It's in a tin. I mean, it's fantastic. Actually, I was enjoying them yesterday, but you know, the Anniversario one size is, I don't want to speak for the future just because you really never know, but that is kind of reserved for a piece of tobacco history that's just gonna. It's like an homage that's gonna stay there. I mean, we have the double R, also in Anniversario, but we have it in the Colorado Claro, so that's kind of cool. I mean, that's different, but yeah, I don't think it's not in the plans for the near future. I will say that would be a pretty exciting 3-hour journey if it was a late hour in that Vitola.
The late hour that's up there for me too when it comes to Davidoffs.
Oh
I
yeah,
mean, I think it was the first Davidoff box I ever bought was the late hour Toros. And
it
I
was something.
burned through that box. It was so good. That's a very unique blend in itself. So yeah, in that size,
Yeah,
I could see it. It would
but
probably
you're
be
gonna need some
good,
time.
but yeah, you'd need a lot of time.
Yeah,
That's also a stronger blend than Anniversario. So
right. No, for sure.
for 3 hours,
can't
I
even
mean, that's a
imagine.
lot for 3 hours.
I mean, the royal release Salomons for me are already like I gotta prepare myself, like for journeys. So I mean, shit. The Year of the Dragon was a
Double Corona?
double Corona, and it's got considerable strength to it. It'll slow you down, man. It's a
I remember smoking that one and thinking this is probably one of the better Zodiac releases that you guys did in the last couple of years. Not that the others were bad,
oh yeah, it's just
but
that's for
that
you.
one seemed to stand out more. And one thing I will say when it comes to, the Zodiac stuff you guys have been doing is I do enjoy, and I think a lot of people feel this way, how how much you guys put into like the little stuff. Like for example, like with the Tiger. Like what you guys did with Year of the Tiger. I mean, people are still talking about that. And that was what, 2 years ago?
Yeah.
I mean, people are still talking about that. Like, oh, do you remember the Year of the Tiger that Davidoff did? Like, yeah, how could I forget? People are still talking about it. Like, I mean, that was a cool
Tobacco
release.
innovation, man.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, you guys, I mean, I know that the Zodiac series, and there's a couple of different things I was going to hit on this particular topic. I know it's something that I think Davidoff kind of, I don't know if you guys were the first to officially do like a full annual release, but it's become something that you guys I think are known for the most, and more companies I see every year are starting to jump on that Year of the whatever. Now it's Year of the Dragon. Next year it's what, Year of the Chicken. I don't remember. I don't know the flow of how it goes, but
Snake.
oh, it's this. Oh, that's right. It's the snake. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I see more and more other people get on that. But it's kind of been like, I want to say, unless I'm wrong, like Davidoff's thing for a little bit of time
Yeah.
now. And I like how, you guys don't just go, all right, so it's Year of the Dragon this year. It's in a red box. Here, no, like you put some time, some thought into, the packaging, the design, the cigar itself, the blend, what specifically about the construction you guys are going to do. I mean, I think it really speaks volumes to, that Davidoff elegance, and that kind of what we were talking a little bit before the show about, just the finesse, right?
Yep.
It really does. The products speak for themselves.
Yeah, it's kind of like how I started off with, man. 3 years, right?
Yeah.
3 years of innovation cycles, 3 years to work on something. I There's a lot of planning and strategy. We do not release products to just release products, right? It is common knowledge and industry standard almost for. I'm not saying everybody does this, but a lot of people, they need to hit their numbers for the year. Let's release some new products. Let's release some new products. Like everything we do has a methodology and a strategy. There's a purpose behind it. We do things with intention. And that's not just Davidoff, that's Avo, that's Camacho, Nicaragua right now. Like everything has a reason. We don't just add on new lines to add on new lines. So if you notice with every Zodiac, every detail comes back to telling the story, whether it's how the packaging has been designed, all the embellishments in the packaging, all the materials in the packaging, down to the shape of the cigar tells a story. I don't know how many people caught on to the dragon, for example. The unfinished foot is supposed to be representation of dragon's breath, like the fire coming out of
A torch foot.
dragon. Yeah, and you also have the masterpiece humidor that we work with famous artists on, and it's all beautiful marquetry, which that tells its own story of the dragon. And yeah, it's cost an incredible amount of money, but everything is thought out, even to the accessories. We do have a robust business in Asia. Clearly that's how this was all originated. It just turned into something that was amazing, and people expected. Like, there's a craze behind these things, but we do it. We're proud of it. It's a great challenge to the innovation team. It's a great challenge to the blending team. How do we continue? It's not about outdoing yourself. It's not like, hey, how do we beat the ox? All right, we'll do the tiger this way. No, the tiger was always going to be that way because it was a tiger. The dragon was always going to be that way because it's a dragon. It has nothing to do with trying to beat the prior years. So it's just really intentional. And, it's like all the gossip that comes afterwards. And now everybody's doing Zodiacs. And, it's it is what it is. It's, we never invented Zodiacs, right? So
Right.
we can't say, hey, stop copying us. But we're really proud of what we've done. And just like with any other industry, when people see trends making waves, making money, resonating with consumers, other people start jumping on those trends. If you think of Scotch, how many people went the whole peaty way for a while, and how many people started doing different barrel aging and different whiskeys? They see one person doing now, the other person does, and it is what it is, But we definitely will continue to do it intentionally and thoughtfully and as innovative as possible, because we owe it to our consumers to just deliver the best.
Now, it's funny, you talk about, how, you didn't invent it, right? But it was just something that Davidoff did. Now, if I remember correctly, the first Zodiac that Davidoff released, I want to say was between 2011 and 2012, if that's right. And it was an Asian
Probably.
market exclusive, and it was in a 10-count paper bundle. And I don't even think it was called, I don't know if it was supposed to be the dragon, but I want to say that.
But it wasn't called that. Yeah,
right. It was called something else, but it was kind of unofficially that first year of the dragon. And then I know they kind of built on it from there. When you guys were like, oh, we have something here. We should do this.
Yeah, listen, Zodiac memorabilia or products, has existed in whiskey and in wine, and I mean for decades, dude. You know, like
Right. It's
there's a
not
whole
new.
continent that celebrates it, right? So
Right.
uh, it's a real thing. So I would like to believe that, you know, I can't officially comment on this. I don't know, but I would like to believe we're the first that did it in tobacco. But, you know,
No, I know what another thing that's interesting too is we talk about this particular topic and we talk about, other people getting involved. It was about a month ago now that
yeah.
Gurkha Cigar Group, company who you used to work for,
Yeah.
which we'll talk about, I guess, later, um, announced that they were filing a lawsuit against Davidoff for using the
Hmm.
Year of the Dragon trademark. Now,
Right.
I don't know if you have anything you can comment on that, or if you have anything you can say as to that, or if you think why would they come after you guys now? I mean, I know that there's other manufacturers who have announced they're doing a Year of the Dragon, but I haven't heard
I've
anything
heard of them.
officially that they've come after all of those people. So as someone who has been named, just you had any comment on that as to why maybe it's only you, or just
I,
did you guys have any prior
I
knowledge that that could be a problem?
no. So well, first of all, I can't comment on that, to be honest. That's being handled by our legal department in
Hmm.
Switzerland and United States. Humbly, it's beyond my pay grade.
Yeah.
so but it's ironic that I did work at Gurkha, you know. So I got a ton of phone calls. They're like, "Dude, you used to be the marketing director there when you moved back from Asia," and I was like, I don't know. I'm working 3 years down the line, dude. So I can't comment. I just whatever will be, and I do find it interesting. I mean, there's 5 other Year of the Dragons, but whatever. I can't say anything. I just best of luck to everyone.
No, that's fair. No, that's fair. I figured I'd ask either way. Just I'm sure
Yeah,
people would want to know. But yeah, no, I mean I know that's a kind of a developing thing, and if there's for our followers, if there's more information on that in the future, we'll let you know. But it's funny, I want to kind of take a step back, because as much as I enjoy talking about the present, I want to kind of go back to the past for a second.
yeah,
I had said in the beginning of the show, I've been looking forward to the show, and I've been looking forward to getting to know you just a little bit better. And I know you've been around for a few minutes, so I know, and you worked at Gurkha, and I know you mentioned that you lived in Asia at one point.
yep.
Um, just tell us a little bit about your backstory. I mean, where did you come from, and how did you get into the business, and kind of what led you to being where you are now.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. So, born and raised in Miami, Cuban immigrant parents. I mean, kind of starts there, I guess. And my family, myself, we were highly involved in Miami hospitality. So, uh, we've owned and operated nightclubs, restaurants, bars for 30 plus years. So I was always in the hospitality business. I never intended to get into cigar business. I relocated to Thailand to open up 2 hotels for a company, and I did that. It was great. It was kind of a great, like, amazing experience. But while I was there, I lived in this island before I moved to Bangkok. I was living in this island called Koh Samui, and in my hotel, uh, the only thing that's available there was habanos, right?
Right.
And aside from being a son of Cuban immigrants that lost everything, that kind of bothered me. But aside from all that, it was a 900% import tax on all products. So a Cohiba Robusto in 2009 cost $125. So I remember going, well, that kind of sucks, but hey, I guess people are used to paying that here. And then I would contact Pacific Cigar, which Pacific Cigar is the distributor of Habanos in Asia. And hey, I need wholesale pricing for my hotel. I'd like to have it as an amenity. And like they were only giving me 10% off. Like it's not like in the United States or any other business, like, hey, 50% off, and then you do your markup and you do, you sell the product. They didn't care. They didn't need to. They're the only game in town, and arrogantly so. They're like, no, you get 10% off. It is what it is. And I was bothered because I was like, man, I don't care about cigars. Like, I'm running a hotel. I have a beach club. I got a nightclub in there. I got restaurants in there. I got hotel guests. Like, I just want a great amenity because every time somebody buys a cigar, I'm selling 3 drinks.
Right.
It was great.
Mm-hmm.
So it really bothered me. So growing up in Miami and going to school in Miami, I went to this really prominent all-boy Catholic high school where a lot of cigar manufacturers' kids all went to. So like I knew a lot of people, but like I wasn't in the cigar business. So I got frustrated. So I was like, oh man, I'm gonna figure this out. So I called a few people. I called the Padrones. I called Perdomo. I called EPC. And I was like, I need cigars for my hotel. Can you send me 2 or 3 boxes for my humidor? Like, I don't know. And like everyone's laughing at me. Like, if you're sending it to Asia, it means you have to be an importer, which means you're probably gonna have to take a couple 100 boxes. And like it was just like this whole process that I just was not ready for. I was like, well, that sucks.
Yeah.
So I go to a hotel association meeting and I stand up like, in front of 90 general managers. Like everyone's talking like points of what we got to do for tourism, this and that. I'm like, hey, last thing, no one really gives a shit, but I feel like we're all getting ripped off and it just bothers me. I found a way to get Nicaraguan and Dominican cigars here for really inexpensive pricing comparatively to Habanos, but I don't need hundreds of boxes. Does anyone want to go halvesies with us? Like maybe we just all get it for the hotel association and we all take our allotment. And the general feedback was like, dude, you bring it in, we'll buy it off you. And like I drove home that night and was like, I think I just started a business. So I got connected with some guy that was importing Perdomo at the time. So Nick Perdomo put me in contact with somebody. And he was like, hey, this guy's already importing my product into Bangkok. Get with him. He has an import license. He'll help you out with whatever you need. And just like that, I kind of blew the guy away with like, hey, man, I got 90 hotels and whatever. I blew the guy away and he was like, hey, let's be partners. And overnight, I became the largest importer and distributor of non-Cuban cigars in Southeast Asia. So.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
That's one way to stick it to the Cubans.
Yeah. And that was like a real thing. So I was still working at the place. And then eventually I was like, F this, man. Like, I'm going to work for myself. I know how to own and operate venues. I know how to do all this stuff. So I started opening up whiskey and cigar bars in Bangkok. I moved from the island. I moved to Bangkok. And yeah, I was doing it. And we had multiple locations and I had distribution all over Malaysia, Vietnam, Cambodia, Singapore, Bangkok. And I had my own venues. And I was like really strategic about who I was importing into the country with my partner. And it was awesome, man. Like I believed in 10 companies, pretty much the top 10 companies you could probably imagine. I had them all there and it was great. And out of nowhere, I remembered what it was like to be an American living in a foreign country because the military overthrew the government. They shut down all businesses for 6 months, froze all foreign bank accounts. And it was just like a rude awakening for me. Wow. And I went from living on top of the world and thinking I'd never moving home. Asia's my home. Thanks, family, but you guys can come visit me here. And so I pretty much got rid of the guy stayed with it. My partner stayed with it. I want to say I got screwed over in that, but it is what it is. I got to move back home, and I intended to open up more venues back home. So I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna do this in South Florida now because my family's there, and now I got the support. And it wasn't happening, like there's the regulations of the capping of liquor licenses, finding space, and it was just really a complex thing, and time was ticking, man. I was like a year into it. And at the same time, I have all these great manufacturers that I was importing that are all like, dude, you should just do marketing for us. You know what you're doing. You've been doing luxury lifestyle marketing for years. Like, we'd love to hire you. We'd love to hire you. And I kind of dodged everybody because I was like, no, I'm going to work for myself. I don't want to work for anybody. And then, I always said that if I am going to get into it, like I wanted to tackle it very unique. I wanted to understand packaging and product development first. So like I had great job offers, but I felt like I need to go to who I believe was crushing it in product development and packaging. And I was an importer for Gurkha at the time in Asia, and he crushes it in Asia. So, he offered me a job, and it made sense to me. I got to work with some really amazing people there, and man, he showed me the ropes on what it was like. I mean, I was there a short 2 years, but in 2 years, I probably designed 40 humidors and saw the production of 40 humidors, like beginning to finish. I did maybe 20 different brands and lines. I met every manufacturer in terms of like hard goods, printers. Like, it was just like I went to boot camp on product development, and it was cool. It was a really cool time, and I'm always gonna thank him for that, and that company for that, because I wouldn't have had the tenacity I had today if I didn't see that guy at work, and the team there at work. So through that, I got recruited to go to Altruist USA, and I was senior brand director there for a little over 2 years. I got to take a lot of that, mom and pop family tenacity to a corporate entity, multinational entity that moved a little slower than most. So I didn't really abide by the corporate maneuvers. I just kind of went in there like a tornado, and I got very blessed to have some great mentors there and some great people there that helped me learn from a lot of mistakes I was making and grow. And I got the privilege and honor to be the senior brand director and control Monte Cristo, and I got to relaunch Trinidad. I created the whole Espiritu thing, and it was just
oh wow, I didn't
Henry
realize you
Clay.
Yeah,
that was conceived in my backyard, like just smoking cigars. Like I wanted to. I had this like tobacco love that I here are some of the oldest brands in the world, and I have Cuban heritage, and I don't work for the Cuban government, so F them, but I have the capability of honoring families that originally owned those brands and developing cool stuff with all that heritage like in mind. And it was a spectacular time, and I don't know, I want to say 2.5 years into it, I had the opportunity to kind of hit the dream, which was Davidoff, which was kind of like this weird full circle moment. Because like I remember used to being in Asia, like I was so used to luxury lifestyle marketing and product development that I was like, if I were to ever work for a company one day, I'd like it to be like Davidoff. But like, that's untouchable. Like, who the hell's gonna get there? And somehow like it happened. and it was dude, like a massive honor. Like I had this like weird moment that while I've been in the tobacco business for a while globally, I've been in 10 years, but like moving into the United States, uh, at that time, it was like in 4 years, I managed to end up at Altadis, running Altadis, and then all of a sudden ending up at Davidoff. And I was like, holy shit, how did I get Monte Cristo, Trinidad, Romeo, H.L. Man, now I'm at Davidoff, Avo, and Camacho, and I used to love looking at all the work that they were doing, and I was always inspired by them, and I was always enjoying their products because like I smoke everybody's things. Like I'm a tobacco lover at first, and yeah, it's kind of led me to where I am today, and I've just really been very fortunate on my journey in this industry because met so many great people along the way, and not just at the companies that I worked at, but the industry as a whole is, you hear this a lot, but like it's really real. It's like really tight.
Small.
So it is. So like, when you do these trips where you're traveling all over the country and you're ending up in these multi-vendor events, like you become friends with a lot of these manufacturers, whether boutique or just very well known. And it was like a surreal moment for me that these cigar icons and legends that I was always like, oh my God, like I'd love to ask them for their autograph one day. All of a sudden we're becoming colleagues and they're texting me on the phone. I'm texting back. But I still to today have like that fanboy like mentality around
You can't help
very
it.
strange. No, because I mean, there's too many years in my life that I was looking up to you. Now that we're cool and you're like, we go on vacations together or we do things together, but like, I'm still like, holy shit, you are you. And while I do feel that I'm very privileged to be at a company that globally, I want to say is at the top of the food chain, like I look at all these guys and it's just like, I'm grateful to a lot of them. And if it wasn't for Nick Perdomo, I wouldn't be in this business. I never worked for the guy, but if I wasn't for him, I would not be in this business. I would not be if it wasn't for Kaizad. I would not be if it wasn't for Rob Norris. And like all of that school got me to what I consider the holy grail of Davidoff. And now I'm like deeply involved with the team, and our president of our company is like an incredible, I want to say visionary. Our U.S. head of all marketing, I run the U.S. brand team. She runs all the marketing. She's brilliant. My immediate team that, like, I hate even saying people report to me because like we just all work together. I prefer to build a network. Like everybody's amazing. Switzerland's amazing. It's just like one of those weird things that the older you get, you just become like, I'm incredibly just grateful for all of this. And
Right.
it's weird, a little bit weird for me because being born and raised in Miami, and when I came back and I was in the business, like Miami's the epicenter. So like you go out at night, people were coming to my family's venues and I'm hanging out with all the cigar manufacturers in my family's place. It's cool. It's like, yeah, in St. Pete, where I live now with my wife, because of the headquarters over here, we love this town so much better than being back home in Miami. So we're also like kind of like removed
Right.
from the epicenter of the industry. So like it's
Right.
weird that I'm a little removed, but incredibly grateful. And yeah, it's unique, man. That's pretty much my story, how I got into this business. And
That's I didn't want to interrupt because I wanted you to have your flow and I didn't want you to lose it. But
cool.
That's a hell of a fucking story. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, it's pretty.
It's not what I
gnarly,
expected at all.
Yeah.
But honestly, good for you. I mean, you kind of started like way out of left field there with what you were doing, where you were, and then you kind of you got like your foot in the door, and then you're like, no, I'm going in the door, and you kept going, and now you're in the top of the house, and in your words, and it's a real Cinderella story, it's you kind of, I would say, I think it's safe to say, as long as I interpreted this right, you kind of, you got to your dream spot, and now you're just living life.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
It's a good summary, and like I'm also a guy that never stops. Whatever that means, whether it's more innovation, I always said I'm gonna change this business for this country with something, whatever I do. And so like with every innovation, and I don't just mean product, but just how we go to market, how we're activating in stores, the way we connect with our consumers, the programs. Like you don't just show up at a Davidoff event, everything's a Davidoff experience. Like everything is so intentional with how you experience product. And we do the same thing with Camacho and with Avo. We're putting Camacho on tour with like barbecue pitmasters, and we're doing these crazy like burger battles, and everything that I've done, I'm trying to break the system, and I'm part of a team that also likes to break the system. We want to do things that just make us unique, like, because I love products and I love brands, and there's a common denominator amongst industry peers where they believe that setting up shop at a place and selling 3 cigars and we'll give you 2 for free, like that's what this business comes to. And I just don't agree with that, man. Like I was wowed when I was in Asia. Like everything was people showing up in suits and just like true enjoyment of products. And not that everyone needs to be in suits everywhere, but let's enjoy what we're doing. Let's sell brands. Let's make people believers of brands versus like, I'm just here for the deal. Well, that just makes you a believer of a discount. You're never going to build a brand that way, So
Right. No, you took it to the next level.
Yeah. And I'm always going to go. I don't know what's next. We're just keep on pushing and keep on going. In the short years I've been in this business in the United States, I've seen a considerable amount of evolution. And I'm very proud, like, try not to get involved in, like, the industry mumbo jumbo. Like, we focus very hard on lifestyle marketing versus just straight product stuff. Because if you approach a lifestyle, like I'm approaching people that aren't just in the shops and not in just the humidors. Those people already know who we are. I need to find everybody else. The majority of people that buy cigars and enjoy cigars aren't us. They're not the cigar nerds. Like, we already know what's up. It's
right.
People like my brother who knows nothing. He just knows I want a cigar. I saw Davidoff together with this Ferrari dealership doing these, racing tours. Fuck, Davidoff must be a great brand. Let me go buy Davidoff. And that's really where you start building these circles of brands and ecosystems where people kind of understand equity of brands and what identifies them. And I feel like tobacco and cigars are precisely that. Building your brand is finding your tribe and what identifies with you, right? So like, are you a Jeep guy or are you a Porsche guy? They're both great cars. Just identify more with a Jeep. I actually identify more with Camacho because I'm kind of like, it's kind of like finding those ecosystems and exploiting it. I just went on a tangent, but
no, it's all good information. I mean, I was going to say, I like how, you got Davidoff, classic Davidoff, white band is, the premier ultra premium brand. You got Camacho, which kind of has this rougher exterior. And you talk about like doing the grill stuff and the meats, and you got the Camp Camacho stuff. And to his credit, all jokes aside, Jack did talk a lot about this when he was on the show.
Yeah, for sure.
Which was interesting, and I'm pretty sure Kevin has been to Camp Camacho.
It's a fun time.
And has spoken a lot about it. And I know that Jack was doing that tour over the summer, with all the Camacho events, and then you get Avo, and Avo is like this, classic, brand that's a little bit different than like the Davidoff white band, name, but it still has its own like heritage, where you can kind of do some unique things with that as well, like what we saw with the Seasons this year. I mean, the Seasons was a very interesting release.
Thank you.
And I think that it was
very
rolled
proud
out.
Of that.
Yeah, I think it was rolled out really nicely. I like how it was, spring, summer, fall, winter.
Yeah.
And that was interesting. And I know there's been some other stuff that, you guys have done with Avo, but yeah, it seems to me like, you guys have it pretty balanced where you have multiple brand names, but you've been very good at keeping their identities very individual. so it doesn't all just
Yep.
bleed as, oh, these are all just Davidoff products. Like, oh yeah, there's Camacho, but
Yeah.
it's the same as White Band. Well, no, White Band is White Band and Camacho is Camacho. So it
Correct.
doesn't matter
I mean,
who owns it, but
you don't ever want your brands to cannibalize each other or take share from each other, or for somebody to be like, oh, well, Avo, it's made in the Dominican Republic. It's just a cheaper Davidoff. Let me smoke that. I mean, it's completely different. Right. You know, Avo's got a really interesting story, you know, because it obviously started with Abu Vezian, the man,
right.
you know, and you know, you'll understand more of the brand, like, after what I said I'm about to say, like, but he was an artist, right? And everything he did as a musician was an expression of his artistry. He started making cigars. They were expressions of his palette, and he treated everything as a work of art. Like, everything he did, he didn't just cook food. Like, he tried to make it artistic, you know? So everything we do with Avo, now that he's no longer with us, but the brand in itself embodies that bit of artistry where it's all about self-expression. And that's how we did this whole More Expression campaign this past year, where you see our social media, like, we're interviewing coffee roasters, you know, why they do what they do and what makes their coffee unique, and how they grow their beans and roast their beans, and, you know, what coffee you choose is like an expression of who you are. It's the same thing with your cigar. We worked with a fashion designer on how they design clothes and why people choose the clothes, and how the same artistic process that happens in designing fashions and material that you're using and fabrics, it's the same thing as our master blender at work, like, figuring out, hey man, this cigar is going to be an expression for me. And all of our limited editions, like, we don't do improvisations anymore, but that was like artistic expressions. Yeah, of a tobacco man, but we're telling the story of artists in every aspect. And then Seasons was a really cool I started working on that project like my first week on the job. That's how long it took. But that whole thing was, you know, sitting down with our master blender one day and like, dude, have you ever been on vacation in the summer and like you spent all day at the beach, and now you're just like sitting on your hotel balcony and you're just looking at the sunset and you're smoking a cigar and you're drinking an amazing rum? He's like, yeah. I was like, you know that feeling? He's like, yeah, it's an amazing feeling. I was like, yeah, you need to make a cigar that translates that feeling. That's going to be summer. And we need to think of something that gives you the feeling of fall, you know, and spring. You got like, dude, there's flowers out, there's like amazing aromas, everything's like green, everything is fresh, it's spring, like, and our master blenders went to work, and it was just like, these are all expressions of each season. We didn't want to do it multiple different sizes, because I didn't want anyone to think like, oh, fall is better than winter because I like Robustos better or whatever, you know, like, no, we're gonna make them all diademas, they're all gonna be the same size, so whoever's a collector can get one of each, and they can literally vertically go side by side and experience all these and kind of like, you know, enjoy a cigar that kind of takes you back to those moments. So like Avo as a brand, and if you ever like go through our Instagram now and you start looking at all the videos and all the photos, like, you'll see it, like, it's all a form of self-expression, man, you know? So it's cool. And that doesn't take anything away from Davidoff at all. It's in its own like price point,
Right.
mentality. And same thing with Camacho, you know? So like, I like to describe brands as like other things. I'm like, if Davidoff is a Rolex, then Avo must be a Panerai watch. Because people who choose Panerais, they got the money to afford a Rolex, but they choose Panerai, and it's a lot less money, but they identify with the brand because that brand says something about them and the things that they choose. They choose to kind of stand a little bit apart because they care about their own personal self-expression.
Right.
So that's kind of, you know, the matrix of the brands.
Like I said before, I mean, the way that you guys have organized it is nice. I think it was nice to see the Avo seasons this year. To be honest, it seemed like for a little while the Avo brand seemed kind of quiet. And then the seasons came out and it was like, "Oh, what's this?" And it was nice because it, like you said, it wasn't just like one release. It wasn't like they were different sizes. It's pretty well done. You kept them all the same size. You know, every quarter essentially, you know, you have a new season and then you have a new product, but it's all within this series. So it's not like you just release, you know, one cigar. It comes out. It's out there, and then, you know, it just kind of, all right, well, we'll move on to whatever the next thing is. No, the next thing is the next iteration of this series. Oh, the Avo Summer's out. Oh, and it just kept going, you know, down the line. So you had like this whole year of like these new releases, but you did it in a way where, like you kind of were saying, like way before in the beginning of the show, like you're not just dumping new stuff out there to dump new stuff out there. It's like we have 4 new products, but it's part of one name, one line, one series, and they're 4 different cigars that we're going to spread out across the entire year. That's pretty yeah, that's pretty well. I lost the fucking word. Innovative. Sorry, I don't know why. I don't know why I lost that. It is pretty innovative. You know, you have like in a sense it's like one product, but it's 4, but it's all under one category, one name, one line. But they're 4 different unique products that are timed right. Yeah, I mean, I thought that was very well executed.
Okay, yeah.
And then, you know, of course, we saw, I wonder, was that October? We saw the Camacho broadleaf come out. So we kind of went into that foray of using broadleaf. You know, keeping Camacho fresh. You know, we already talked about the Davidoff brand has been busy this year as well. So it's in a nutshell as a whole, all encompassing. It's been a good year for you guys. I mean, you've done several different projects that were special and very unique in their own right, and they were all executed pretty flawlessly. So, you know, just a tip of the hat to you guys for doing it.
Thanks,
It's not
man.
easy. I mean, like you said, people will they put new products out, but you guys also, you thought them out and you planned them, which was done well.
Yeah, and first of all, thanks. I mean, there's a massive team that puts this all together, but there's like a real major piece that a lot of people don't take into consideration because they probably don't think about it. But to start with, we are incredibly proud of our core lines, right?
So it keeps the lights on, right?
Right, it does.
Yeah.
And when you bring out a new cigar, you're essentially diluting your core.
Mm-hmm.
Because what happens is there's only so much space on a shelf. You have to think of the retailer. So why do you need to have 18 million brands? You don't. Now, innovation's important, but one of the best ways to innovate is coming out with limited editions so they're not like intrusive on a retailer's shelf. You're able to
for a long period
something
of
that
time.
keeps people right, so people can get engaged into the brand and then go, oh, you love the limited edition. Don't forget, this all comes from, you know, for Davidoff, like it's our white band. You know, like that's the epicenter of it all. Never forget that they're just as good. You know, we have our pillars in Davidoff, which is the Discovery pillar, which is the Black Band, and you have the Winston Churchill. And then with Avo, we have like our Avo core lines, and then we have our Synchro lines. But like, there's no reason to continue adding on to those things unless we really identify an area where, oh man, we really need to be developing in this area because we're missing on that, and it makes a lot of sense for the brand. Other than that, you know, retailers can't carry everything.
Right.
So if you keep coming out with new lines that are just on forever, you're eventually going to discontinue one of your old ones, and you just stuck retailers with inventory. Like, you're not being a great business partner, is one way to see it as a manufacturer. You got to be mindful. And another industry which is great to watch is if you look at in the spirits industry. I mean, to take Johnny Walker, for example, dude, they've been red, black, blue, green for decades. yeah, they come out with their limited editions of Game of Thrones or whatever. Actually, they also do Zodiacs. But like at the end of the day, it's red, black, blue, green, platinum. Sorry, forgot about that one. Like, and it's their core, it's their belief, it's the products that they're proud of, and we have that same pride with our product. So like, yeah, we may not innovate like ongoing lines on a quite a quite often, but boy, do we get busy years. I mean, we put out so many limited editions this year across all of our brands. Like, it was just massive. We've been busy.
It's funny. You said something interesting, and I want to grab this really quick. You
Yeah.
said, when you talk about the limited editions, you talk about, well, if you like this cigar, like, don't forget, check it out, the core line stuff. So, like, for example, I know that there was some people who had, were commenting on, cigar of the year lists, and was like, why would you pick a cigar and call it cigar of the year when it was like a limited edition that at this point might not be available anymore? And I think as a true media person, I think it's worth noting that my response to that would be, well, I think for us, it's recognizing a company who created a product. It may have been a limited edition. Maybe you only made 5,000 boxes or whatever it was. Maybe they're all gone now. Maybe not quite. But we recognized a company that made a product and put it out there that was nationally or even internationally available. That when we looked at it and tried it, and we're like, wow, this cigar was, out of what came out this year, this cigar was fantastic. It deserves the recognition. And I think that's
Cigar of the year.
Yeah, and it was cigar of the year. Now, I know it's a limited run, and eventually they'll run out. I think there's still some more out there, but regardless, they'll sell out and they'll be gone, and then that'll be it. But that doesn't mean that shouldn't take away from the fact that you guys spent the 3 years developing that product and finally put it out, and it gets the recognition for that. Not just, but it's a limited, so it don't count. Well, they still put in all that time to make a product. And kind of like what you were saying, just now, which I like is, look, if you like the Anniversario #1 that we gave Cigar of the Year.
Like number 3.
Number 3? You probably like the Double R. It's not too different.
It's the same blend. I mean, it's just different enjoyment time.
And it's a little bit closer in size. It's still a longer cigar. Grab the Double R. It's not really that much different. It's you're right. It should foray people right into the core line. And anybody who knows the Davidoff Anniversario blend, and that's kind of like what I was saying, we were talking about. It's like, it came out. It's a different size. It's a size that has existed before. But it's still that Anniversario blend. If you smoke any of the Annie sizes, it's not really going to surprise you. It's going to taste, relative. Sizes do affect, I know.
Of course they do.
But within a parameter.
Of course.
And if you smoke Anniversario #3 and you love Anniversario #3, you're going to smoke, as long as you're okay with the longer size. If you smoke the #1, you're probably going to love it.
Yeah.
If you don't, it's because it was too long of a smoke, which is fine, because some people, they don't like a long smoke. But to me, that would be one of the only very few reasons. So those limited edition products, it's nice, it's something new, it doesn't take up shelf space long term, but it also should steer people back into the core line, which again is always available, and that's where the passion should be for most brands. So I really like how you kind of connected all those dots. That was really nice. I do want to pause though for a second, so I can, in an effort to stay on track and stay on time. I want to get to our news segment, which does involve Davidoff. So this will actually involve you. Our news is once again brought to you by Micallef Cigars, featuring the Micallef Black, rated 91 at SmokinTabacco.com. Don't forget to go over and check it out. Micallef Black. It's a blackout. This week in our news, I'm going to highlight this one since Eddy's here, and this will actually kind of include him. We got a press release from you guys. Davidoff of Geneva, USA announces the 2023 American Golden Band Award winners. So normally I read some of the news story, but since you're here, Eddie, I'm gonna let you just, for those who don't know or have never heard of the Golden Band. I mean, I know about the Golden Band Awards, but what is Golden Band Awards, and what makes that so significant?
I mean, the Golden Bands have been around for a long time,
Yeah.
and the way we go to market with Davidoff is with our appointed merchant network. So to kind of give an idea, you can only purchase Davidoff and these appointed merchants. I don't know what the number is entirely in the United States, but there's probably about 4,500 to 5,000 brick and mortar shops in the country.
Total.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
our appointed merchants there's I want to say a little under 300. So I mean, there's 280 appointed merchants, but I think there's 300 doors, right? Because some people have multiple shops.
Yep.
And to qualify to be a Davidoff appointed merchant, obviously there's qualifications that you got to go through, et cetera, et cetera. But these are people that we deem the best of the best, and the way we operate and the way they operate's got to make sense, and people that will actually take care and respect the product the way we intend it to be, and they're just the cream of the crop, I'd like to say, right? They're less than the 10%. Anywho, we honor 5 accounts. It used to be yearly. We kind of, COVID kind of put a little weirdness to that. So ever since COVID, this is the second time we're doing it. And we honor people for their success, right? So like there's a couple awards, like, best performance for a single location in the United States, best performance for multiple location in the United States. We have like best performance in growth for the year, and then the best like growth for multiple locations, and then we have our appointed merchant of the year, which is like the big daddy. But to achieve any of these awards, I mean, it's hard, because all these guys, they're already, every single one of them, they're all aces. So how do you beat the 300 to have the most growth in a year, or or perform better? Like it's and it's measured in so many ways. Like, how are the quality of your activations? When we put together like the big Davidoff white parties or the Davidoff dinners, like, was the experience right? Was the sell-through right? Was it, did that increase sales? How was the product received? I mean, there's just so many things as an extension of our brand that we look forward and we reward. And yeah, this year was really, really, really cool. We just announced it today. So the winners it's great, man. There's some really old school guys there that it's great to see people that have been appointed merchant for 30 plus years, like winning it again,
Right.
like winning these awards. And to me, it's a testament in the belief of the brand and how important it is for the success of their shop and how it's received by their consumers and their customers. And then I also believe it's a testament to how much we put into making sure that our retailers are constantly winning. We're notoriously known. We don't do deals. We don't do any of those types of things.
Right.
And there's a finite number of doors. It's not like we're trying to open up new accounts. Like you can't just open up a Davidoff account. It's not possible. There's, restrictions. Like if there's an appointed merchant in this town, there can't be another one close by. Like there's a lot of parameters. But it's definitely a great award, a prestigious award. And this ceremony is 5 stars, right? Like we're flying everybody in. We're doing with a beautiful 5-course dinner with Michelin star chefs. Everything is completely curated, to arriving in limos, to it's all black tie, and speeches from the president, speeches from big heads in Switzerland, global. honoring these people and thanking them for their commitment to the brand with a hell of a celebration afterwards. And they also have the ability to sell the Golden Band Awards cigar for the remainder of the year, which is also really cool. It's a really great limited edition. So
Yeah,
it's really neat.
there's one retailer near me. I'll give a quick shout out. I know they've won a bunch of Golden Band Awards, and that's Regency Cigar Emporium in Rhode Island.
That's my guy. Yeah, he's a good
Yeah.
dude.
Mike.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Yeah.
And he was our last. He won Appointed Merchant of the Year in the last awards. So he's great, man. He's got an incredible business, and we love showing up there and doing incredible Davidoff events just because they're impactful. And
he does a lot of Oro Blanco events, doesn't he?
I did that with me. Yeah, that was I dubbed it the slaughtering of the unicorns because we smoked 35 Oro Blancos that night. It was really unique.
That's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money, man. And there was a finite number. Every time someone smoked one, it's like the price should have gone up. Like that's I was like, I can't believe this is what's happening. It's kind of crazy. But those events are great because the president was there, I was there, a couple other senior executives were there, and we actually get to sit one-on-one with every single customer and listen to their passion. We get to share our passion, and it's really like true bonding on another level, and gratitude at the same time for liking and enjoying our product, and we're just really grateful for that. We put in a lot of hard work globally. There's a significant amount of people globally that put all this effort into it, and these awards and meeting these types of people, it's just like it's pretty awesome to get to see the results of everybody's hard work, like live and in person, so yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. I know that there's been a few of those events that they've done, and I know Mike's reached out to me. Jesse's reached out to me.
You look like Jesse. I don't know if anyone's ever told you that.
No, but I could see it. I love Jesse too. I feel bad because the last few times, like there was one. I think he was doing one with Mike at Regency, and I think you were supposed to be there too. And it was like right after my daughter was born, and I was like, I'm gonna come. And I got to that day, and it was just like I couldn't leave my wife, and I was like, I can't come, Jesse. And I felt so bad.
That was recent.
Yeah, it was like a few months ago, and I was like, I'm like, I can't do it. I'm like, I was so disappointed. I felt bad because I know he's been wanting to see me and get together and come to an event.
That was a very special night, man. We were able to fly in one of our master rollers from Dominican Republic. She's one of 8 people that are allowed to roll the Royal Release.
Yeah, and
she was rolling Royal Robustos that night, which is a very unique thing, man. Because
that's special, yeah.
Yeah, like you don't see that outside of the factory, so it was a cool night.
Yeah, I saw the photos and videos of that, and I was like, I wish I was there.
Yeah,
but hey, there will be more events, and I will get to an event soon. But yeah, I mean, I know he does a lot of events too, so that comes to mind because it's kind of hits close to home.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, I've been familiar with the Golden Band Awards, and like I said, I know some people who've won those awards, and yeah, it's kind of cool, and I like that you guys do that, and to really highlight those who it's a partnership at the end of the day, like you said, it's you guys as a manufacturer, them as a retailer, you guys work together, for everyone to sell products, everybody wins, so working together, and who went out there and earned it the most and given them that recognition. And I know that there's other brands that do that on some level too, but
right.
The way you guys do it, it's really cool. So I wanted to make sure we highlighted that too during the show. And what better way to do it than during a news segment?
Awesome.
Let me see. I'm watching the time here. I have a couple of things I wanted to get to. Yeah. Did we talk about PCA? Did we? I can't remember that.
We did not.
Yeah,
We did
one
not
of the
talk
things
about it.
one of the things I wanted to make sure this probably won't be a long discussion,
No.
but I figured I would touch on it while we were on the air. So the drama, would we call it drama? I mean, I guess in the media circles, it's one of those topics that's been prevalent, on analysis of PCA, the trade show, and some other little stuff that's related. The last few years, a major topic was, the big four companies, you guys, General, Altadis, Drew Estate,
Yeah.
have been absent from the PCA trade show. And then last year we saw Altadis and General by way of Forged, at the PCA trade show, and then they announced that they would, be returning, as well as, Drew Estate's going to be there this year. You guys are still have no plans to return to the PCA trade show, correct?
As far as I know, like that's also one of those above my pay grade type scenarios.
Yeah.
But I have not been informed that we will be going back. I mean, yeah, I don't know. All I do know is that we do support the industry ridiculously. We help with all the legal battles. We still support and donate in every aspect. And as you can't tell from this past conversation, we support our retailers like nobody else does. So I don't know. I really can't speak to or answer anything just because I don't know.
Yeah,
I
of
just
course.
make sure that all of our retailers keep on winning and we keep on fighting the good fight on behalf of our industry. And
Yeah, no, of course. I mean, it's it's something that I was planning on asking. I didn't know how much you could speak to it, but
yeah,
it's been a topic. It's been a topic. And not having you guys at the trade show is definitely.
I get it all the
been
time.
Felt.
Yeah, absolutely. I get the question all the time. I just don't know.
Yeah. One of the other things too that, again, this is probably also above your pay grade, but it's worth just throwing it out there to see what to see what you'll say. I know there's been a couple of and it's kind of like a 1 and like a 1A kind of thing,
Right.
and I'm sure it's not new to you, especially part 1.
Okay.
In the media circle, I like to say it that way because those are the people who talk about it the most.
Yeah,
But
sure.
but to be fair, the retailers, half the time the media circle gets it from the whispers and sweet nothings or sweet somethings that the retailers feed to us too. And I don't know where it comes from them. One can only assume it's from the manufacturers or whatever. But as I'm sure you've heard before, there's been this rumor floating around that Davidoff is secretly for sale. And then, which I know is probably something you've heard of before. And then there's another one that popped up recently, which I thought was interesting, that I heard from a couple different people. And it was a little bit more specific. And it wasn't that Davidoff was for sale. It was that Camacho could be possibly for sale.
Oh, I heard this one.
Did you hear that?
I
Yeah.
heard-
So and now I'm like,
I
so
got
it went
phone
from
calls
Davidoff to now it's just Camacho. So what? Like, is this all
Well, first
bullshit?
of all,
like,
nothing's for sale. I mean, I will tell you that we were reassured because, like, dude, those rumors were really real. Like, they flew. It's funny how rumors fly everywhere. I mean, it's I don't want to say it's laughable because I don't want to disrespect anybody, but it's pretty laughable. But I mean, even our global CEO came in and was like, and like one of our meetings, he kind of like stopped. He goes, "Oh, and by the way, let me reassure everybody, like we are not for sale. Like the family, Davidoff is still a privately owned company,
right.
as big as it is. It's still a family, and they have generations of people that are highly involved. I mean, it is not for sale. I mean, I would argue. Listen, man, I would argue it's probably the largest premium tobacco company in the world. And what I mean by that, even though it's probably not statistically, I'm just thinking perception.
Right.
Like we are, well, a lot of U.S. brand companies are sold globally. They are.
Mhm.
We are just as big, if not bigger, outside of the United States, and no one can honestly say that. I mean, it's literally Habanos and Davidoff. We have a significant amount of company-owned brick-and-mortar shops all around the globe. Like, you would have to have a lot of money to buy us. But again, like, I don't know any of that kind of stuff. It's way off beyond my pay grade. But I heard all these rumors. I have people like in the industry call me like, "Hey, bro, if you need a job in the future, like, we got you." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" They're like, "We heard that Davidoff's for sale, but instead they're just gonna unload. They're gonna unload Camacho." And I'm like, "Who the hell's gonna buy? Like, what? Are you kidding me?" Like.
To be fair,
No.
and I'll be honest with you on this.
Yeah.
So on our Spare Note show, it's more of our industry jib jab show that I do with Coop. This topic has come up several times, and
I don't doubt it.
and we've talked about it. And this is purely like it's not it's analytical of whatever information we have and whether it's true or not. But we take the information that we're given and we go, all right, well, let's have this conversation. Let's play the hypothetical game. And I have been. It's on document. You can see it. I'm not going to lie to you. But I've said, like, hey, listen, like, if Davidoff's going to be for sale, I would say from a money, because you're right, and this has been a part of the discussion too, like, you guys it would not be cheap and really most, I think, companies would not be able to, and the only one that comes to mind that maybe has the money for your premium cigar business, because as a reminder to everyone, Davidoff is technically more than just a premium cigar company. There's other luxury products that under the Davidoff umbrella. So,
there's a lot under the Davidoff umbrella.
yeah.
Man.
So I mean, when you really step back and you look at everything, it's more than just the cigars. So when you're talking about buying Davidoff, it's like, are you talking about buying Davidoff, Oettinger Davidoff, who's everything, or are you talking about Davidoff of Geneva and did the cigars and just that? And it's like, okay, let's play the hypothetical game here. And I said, if someone's gonna buy them, it's gonna be STG, and it's gonna be north of $500 million, easily.
I mean, it would have to be.
And
Right,
I think I think Coop even said, I'm gonna go a step further and say 750. Yeah, could see that too. It wouldn't be cheap, and to your point, like, even if it was for sale, who could buy that? There's not many people who could buy that.
I mean, let's think of some. Literally, you want to chop it up? Like, somebody told me, "Oh, Camacho's going to be bought," and they say the brand that's the company that's going to buy Camacho, and like, I know a guy that's part of the investment banking company in front. Like, dude, you hear all the bullshit, right? And I'm like, bro, let me explain something to you. I don't even want to talk about Avon Camacho or any of those things. Let's go deeper into our portfolio. Let's talk Baccarat.
Oh,
right.
What a blast from the past.
Baccarat, financially speaking, is bigger than 60% of the companies out in the market.
Yeah.
Avo and Camacho as brands are bigger than 60% of the company's entire revenue. Like, there's no, like, why would you let that go? Like, I mean, I don't know, man. I'm really far down, and and the size of that totem pole, I'm pretty far down. So I don't know anything, but we were reassured left and right that no, it's not for sale. It's not for sale. It was actually the way we were, like, very much like the laugh you just did. Like, it was like that. Like, we are not for sale.
So the latest I heard was that, hey, so I'm hearing that Christian Aroa might buy back Camacho from Davidoff.
Yeah.
And I was like, could he though? But I mean, I don't know. I don't know what his personal finances are. But I heard that one too.
I don't know either, but like, he is a pretty smart man.
He is.
He did sell it for XYZ, but he would have to buy it back for like quadruple the amount. That doesn't seem smart.
But that's another one I heard too. It was like,
Yeah.
your Christian Aroa might be like, and I'm like, what? I'm like, that's oddly
I heard
specific. But no, it's interesting. And by the way, on Baccarat, so I still have people who, I'll be in a cigar shop and they're like, oh, Baccarat, who buys that? I'm like,
a lot of people.
It's it's there for a reason. People buy it. And not for
Dude,
nothing.
it's
I mean,
huge.
look, I'm look, this cigars I like, and I like all the good stuff, and I like some regular stuff, and I like some some more budget friendly stuff. That's I have a taste and a time for everything. I'm not gonna lie to you. I mean, there's been times where I'm like, I'd go for a good Baccarat. I mean, look, it is what it is. I mean, don't rule it out. I mean, it may not be as prevalent, so to speak, like in a lot of shows like this and stuff, because we're always talking about like new products and stuff. But hey, man, Baccarat, there's a time and a place, and I've been known to enjoy those. And every once in a while, I'll go, oh yeah, Baccarat, I gotta get some of those.
No, there's more, right? There's also like Griffins. That's a no joke, right?
Yeah, Griffin's is another one.
Like,
Yeah,
dude, our portfolio is deep and strong. So
there's more than I think people realize too. Like the Griffins,
Yeah.
like the only place I've ever seen
like some
Griffins.
secret like fund worth hundreds of billions, and I just, dude, this is a very proud family. They're very proud of the iconic brand they've created between Dr. Schneider's family, obviously the Davidoff family, and it's a family heirloom. Like, hey, it ain't going nowhere, man.
Right.
You know,
Right. No, I
that's-
mean, and that's in itself is special. The fact that, don't mind me, I'm not texting. I'm merely turning up my exhaust because it's getting smoky in here. And I hope
It's
that
all
no one
good.
and I hope no one can hear that. I think that's still pretty quiet. It's just getting a little much. But yeah, no, I mean the fact that it's still a family-owned company. I mean, and the size that it is, it's pretty impressive. And you talk about the international market. I know it's something we've talked about a lot on the other show when we kind of get into markets and companies, and with everything that's happened with Habanos the last few years, with the major price increases. I know people in Europe and Asia. Nicole is technically a European citizen as well. She's a citizen of the United Kingdom, and she has traveled there to visit her mom and her aunts and her family. And I know the last time she was there was 2022, I think. Yeah, it was before she had the baby. Yeah, it was 2022. And I remember she was over there and she was coming back, and she brought back some Cuban rum and some cigars and stuff like that. But she was like, I literally went into duty free, and they had like 2-3 packs of Cohiba, and there was like a box of like Hoyo de Monterrey, like a box. And that was it. And the discussion has been, especially in the last 12 months, after their like 350% price increase on their.
Wait, by the way, they just announced another one.
Yeah, I know. I saw that, and some of those brands went up even more. And it's like, all right, so you have to start to quality, the demand, availability of product. The prices are 3.5 times more than what they were 2 years ago. You start talking about and I know you're more focused on the U.S., but you start to think about Davidoff is probably, like you said, and anyone who really follows the industry outside of Habanos, I would say on a global scale, Davidoff is probably that next biggest company.
Yeah.
Do
And by the way, the only reason why I say we're bigger is because Habanos is not United States.
correct?
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah,
Because you guys have all of this and they don't. Yeah.
Right. I'm just saying presence.
Right.
I personally feel like we're bigger, but I
So
could be wrong.
So to your point, let's be fair. That's true. They do have the rest of the world, but they don't have the U.S. And the U.S. arguably
Pretty big.
is the biggest market in the world.
Yeah.
So, and you guys have all that. So, I mean, when you put it that way, yes, in theory, Davidoff is perhaps the biggest on a global scale. But even outside, if you remove that and you look at just outside the U.S., I mean, Davidoff is really starting to eclipse Habanos. There's more product availability. Price points are, depending on the taxes and stuff, country to country, probably better.
We're definitely more reasonable.
Right. So, I'm not saying that they're cheap, but you know, 'cause you look at Canada, you know, like we talked about Mitchell's in Canada. I mean,
Yeah, but taxes are ridiculous there.
even a $10 cigar in Canada is like $60. It's ridiculous.
Correct.
It's so a $60 cigar in Canada, forget about it.
Right.
You know, but yeah, I mean, Davidoff as a brand and as a company on the worldwide scale, yeah, I mean, it's really starting to become a juggernaut, so to speak. And that's and to go back a few minutes ago, the fact that it's still a family-owned company, that's pretty impressive. Got to give credit where it's due, right? But no, I mean, look, you guys have been doing a great job. I'm happy to have you on the show. I'm looking at the time. We're getting towards the end of the show. There's so much more I wish I could get into. But you know, this has been quite the night. So I'm happy you were on the show. Yeah, no, I mean, thanks for being here, Eddie. I mean, this has been so much fun. You have to come back because we have to talk about so much more in another show. But yeah, I'm gonna wrap up the show. Once again, thank you for being here. Appreciate it. This was a great time. And
My pleasure.
You know, anything that you wanted to say before we sign off the show that maybe I missed, or something specific you wanted to make sure we said. You know, the floor is yours.
No announcements or nothing. I mean, just from a really heartfelt standpoint, I mean, just for everyone that supports all of our brands, just, you know, thank you. You know, we work really hard, man. You know, we work a lot of hours and we do things with love, and you know, we're very proud of what we do, and you know, to see it received, it's just, it feels good, man. And like you come home and it's like it's worth it, you know. So just thank you to everybody, you know, for all the love, whether it's Davidoff, Javo, Camacho, Zeno, our stores, you know, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for everybody, like we wouldn't be here, man. You know, so it's very grateful for that, and it's cool to be able to even say thank you on that, because that's, while it's a family-owned company, I'm nowhere near part of that family.
Yeah.
I'm just a cog in a wheel of the United States. Like, it's cool to still have that moment of gratitude to the industry, just to be able to be in it, you know. So, thanks. That's pretty much all I'd say.
Yeah, no, I mean, very well said. You know, I think you've done a great job being a great representative of the company, and you guys have done a great job, and look forward to seeing more from you in the future. So, you know, don't forget to check out Davidoff. Head over to number2guyscigars.com. You can find all of their products there, across all of their brands. You know, Davidoff, Camacho, Avo, Baccarat, you know, Griffins. You can find Griffins there as well. All the names we talked about tonight you can find over there at the number2guyscigars.com. Eddie, stay with me as we sign off the show.
Yeah.
So we can chat in the green room. But guys, that's gonna do it for our show. Once again, I should have said this in the beginning of the show. I apologize. Our last weekend we were supposed to do spare notes, but the day of, Coop informed me he wasn't feeling well. That show had already been set up and planned and put together based on some discussions that I was going to have with Coop on some specific stuff. So, and Kevin was not available. Mitchell was going to join us, but it felt better to push that show to this weekend when everyone could be available. So, we're still planning to have spare notes on Saturday night. Again, I apologize that we had to cancel last weekend, but I wanted to make sure Coop was there, and he wasn't feeling up to par, and I wasn't going to force him to sit on here for 3 hours and smoke cigars with me. So I said, no problem. Let's move the show. So I apologize for that. We will be back next week. Don't forget to check out our TPE coverage brought to you by Drew Estate. Kevin is currently on location in Las Vegas, checking out the trade show, and we'll have more for you on that soon. And in the meantime, head over to smokingtobacco.com for more news, reviews, and updates from the cigar industry. With that, we'll see you later. Good night.